We don't know what's going to happen when Donald Trump takes over. Unfortunately, we can't see into the future, but we have to be prepared for all outcomes. I don't know how helpful it is to get us our pants this much this early, but I guess it's always important to stay on top of it.
For years, the leftist media, big tech, and all the elected Democrat officials have been calling Donald Trump a threat to our democracy, okay? Trying to castigate him so that people would turn their backs on a successful economy, peace around the world, and closed borders. But of course, it didn't work out and Donald Trump was elected. But now we have people like Jon Stewart coming out of the woodwork and saying, maybe all this fear-mongering isn't actually helpful. But luckily, the internet lives on forever, so I want to put this hypocrisy on full display for everyone to see. But before we get to the clips, please like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
For this, the Lord's year of 2024, which has been, I don't know if you guys have known this, but a little tumultuous. We appear to be in a transitional period where we are not sure about whether the ground we are standing on is solid, although the news media seems convinced that we are the roadrunner and the coyote has run over the cliff, and we just looked down and realized there's nothing under our feet, and now we are plunging to our deaths because the news media is always very circumspect. We don't know what's going to happen when Donald Trump takes over. Unfortunately, we can't see into the future, but we have to be prepared for all outcomes. I don't know how helpful it is to get us our pants this much this early, but I guess it's always important to stay on top of it. It's kind of why I'm actually really excited to have this podcast. I am convinced it must be such a strange thing. It is for me, for someone who has kind of complained about wanting government to be more efficient and more responsive and making fundamental changes, to see that mantle being carried out by a group of people that I don't necessarily trust to do it in a manner that is. But I guess that's what it is when that's what losing elections is, man. You don't get to dictate anymore. You don't get to say, well, what if we did it this way? That's the beauty of it. This is in the joint custody agreement that we now have in America. It is, I guess the kids they're going to live with dad for the summer, and you just got to eat it. Just, I don't want them going on the lake in the raft. And you're like, well, you're not here. You're not in charge. So you don't get to decide. And that's a tough one.
Okay, so Jon Stewart here, after stumping for Democrats and Kamala Harris, basically comes out and says it's tough to watch Trump come into power and actually want to retool, reduce, refine government, all right? It's tough for him because he's always been that advocate, okay? Then why in the world were you going out on a limb for Kamala? Because she flat out said that she is the same person as Biden. She would not change anything. And yet, for some reason, you still prefer her over Donald Trump, all right? And then he laments the fact that, the people I don't agree with necessarily are now in charge, taking over this mantle. Well, guess what, Jon Stewart, all right? If you actually went to Donald Trump and talked to him about, hey, I have some ideas, there's some things I want to present to you, I think things should run this way, he would probably listen to you because he loves to have some star power on his side, but also he's not stuck in a partisan bubble, okay? So if you actually want to be part of the team, you could, all right? And don't get me wrong. I know it sucks to lose elections, all right? We've all been through it. I know it sucks to sit there and think, oh, wow, I didn't know the country actually believed all that garbage en masse, all right? So we've all been through this, but Jon Stewart is actually, to his credit, being very level-headed about that. However, right, what does he start with? He comes out and says, well, the media is kind of being overreactive on this stuff, right? I don't know how productive it is to actually scare everyone so much that we're crapping our pants, okay? But of course, the problem with that is that Jon Stewart himself is guilty of the fear-mongering as well. And luckily, we have the internet to back all of this up.
That Trump isn't being serious when talking about extreme measures to defeat his enemies. He's already tried it. Remember that day he tried to overthrow the government? And I know it didn't work. But attempted murder isn't the same thing as never tried the murder. So we are left with this surreal idea that somehow Trump's absurdity renders him benign. We dismiss his threats because of how much fun he has expounding on the length, width, and girth of Arnold Palmer's.
So Jon Stewart apparently doesn't remember calling Donald Trump a threat when he didn't succeed in overthrowing the government the first time, but also his enemies within list, right? We can't treat Donald Trump as some type of benign threat. He wants to go after his political enemies or the people who actually violated the law and used the government in open lawfare against him, right? Those are two different things. But of course, Jon Stewart is now going to go ahead and scold the media for being a little overreactionary to the whole scenario of Donald Trump being president again. So Jon Stewart is actually behaving like a lot of leftists after Kamala Harris's loss. He's taking a step back and saying, okay, maybe it's time for me, myself, to be more even keel, at least to appear that way so I won't lose my audience and I'll seem more reasonable to the masses out there so that hopefully some Republicans will come back and I'll get some higher viewership. So good job, Jon Stewart, on that. But of course, that's not going to stop the media from doing what they do.
As Donald Trump is set to return to power, some Americans worried about the impact of his policies on their lives and the lives of those they love are taking extraordinary steps. Among them, my next guests who have been happily planning a wedding for next year. But in the November issue of Vogue, Shelby Wax writes about waking up on the Wednesday after Election Day and wondering if that wedding will still be possible. In her piece, Wax says in part, quote, "The one thing that scares me most is I no longer feel like I can envision my future. Will a stacked Supreme Court overturn my right to marry? Will my family be recognized as a family by my country?" Shelby Wax and her fiance Olivia Rosen joins us now. Thank you so much. So Shelby, you write about how Trump's victory has spurred you and others in the LGBTQ plus community to get married now rather than wait. That is happening. Tell us more about those conversations and what you're doing in your own life in response.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you so much for having us on, Pamela. It's very exciting. So I think, as I said, the morning after the election, I woke up and it was just this feeling of fear, but also this need to take action. I think those in the queer community, we follow Supreme Court cases, all these things very closely. And I remember when Roe v. Wade was overturned, Clarence Thomas wrote in his opinion that he wanted to look at Obergefell v. Hodge next, which gives the right to queer folks around this country to get legally married. And so for us, we thought, okay, we are already planning to get married. Why not just shore up our legal rights a little further? Let's make things official.
So gay marriage, something I don't agree with, by the way, is now being brought back to the forefront because Donald Trump is coming into office and he might end it just like he did Roe v. Wade. But of course, this is completely crazy because Donald Trump himself is actually pro-gay marriage, and he was pro-gay marriage before Barack Obama was pro-gay marriage. Remember, Donald Trump is not a dyed-in-the-wool conservative. He just loves this country, wants it to be efficient and prosperous, all right? That's what he's really after, and that's something I kind of fault him for, is that he's not worried so much about the fiscal responsibility side. But he has come out on the right side of a lot of the moral issues as well, which is why Roe v. Wade got overturned. It's just that gay marriage doesn't concern him. And coming out trying to spread this fear about Donald Trump taking away your gay marriage is really just completely unfounded because it's not something he cares about at all, and it's not something he has ever really mentioned, okay?
But now listen to this. Women are getting sterilized after Donald Trump's victory, saying it's their only option. Newsweek spoke to 5 women who have undergone the procedure or plan to do so in the wake of the election. The women say they did it over their fear that the Trump administration will take away their reproductive rights. One told the outlet she felt, quote, the election tied her hands. Emily, I want to delve deeper into that individual who said that. Let's pull this up. This is Newsweek. Last week, a 39-year-old from Washington State, that is very young, who did not want to be named, underwent a bilateral salpingectomy. Hopefully I said that right, in which her fallopian tubes were removed. Quote, I am not happy that I felt forced into a surgery. I did not want to alter my body. I feel like the election tied my hands, forced me to be sterilized. This is horrible. She says, with Trump's victory, we quickly learned my choice to cancel the surgery had been taken away. What does she mean by that? What?
So, of course, this is the result of unchecked fear-mongering. You have a lot of people going out there in a panic and making completely irrational decisions, right? Because this woman was afraid that she wouldn't have a choice about her reproductive rights, she took away her right to reproduce, okay? This is the madness of the left, okay? They don't make any rational thought, and of course, they believe the lies that all the mainstream media has been spreading about Donald Trump for years. So this is the end result, and this honestly is what the leftist socialist communists want. They want upheaval, they want unrest, and they want complete distrust in anyone or anything. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.